The kitchen on Maple Street looked like every tired weekday of my life. Bills stacked by the microwave. School calendars magnet to the side of the fridge. Emma's crooked unicorn drawing. Jack's lopsided rocket. 7 years of mortgage, paint colors, and PDA emails. And me, standing there in boxers and a t-shirt that smelled like stale sweat and 3 days of bad sleep. Phone in my hand, pulse in my ears. Rachel's text sat at the top of the screen. Ratch, still at the office. The big presentation with Kevin ran late. Don't wait up. Timestamp, 11:19 p.m. I'd stared at that heart for a long time earlier, trying to let it calm me down. Kevin Walsh, the miracle coworker, the Morrison account, the reason she missed bedtime, bath time, family movie night. The reason my kids now asked, is mommy working late again? Like it was just weather. I tried to be reasonable. Big clients, big hours. I told myself we were a team. By 1:30 a.m., the reason was gone. Just this dull, crawling feeling under my skin. I opened Instagram to distract myself. That's all it was supposed to be. Thumb scrolling, brain off. Then I saw it. A friend of a friend had posted a story at Murphy's Bar. A boomerang clip of clinking glasses and bad pop music. The white lettering at the top read, "Presentation crushed clinking beer mugs, #Murphy's, #Morrison team." I tapped it. There she was. Rachel. My wife. Laughing in the black dress she'd told me she was saving for our next anniversary or something special. Her head was thrown back, her mouth open in a laugh I hadn't heard in months. Kevin was right there beside her. Shirt sleeves rolled up, tie loose, eyes locked on her like she was the only person in the bar. Tag at RachelPatHR. Timestamp, 1:24 a.m. Murphy's Bar. Not the office. Not a conference room. Not a late-night client call. Something went very still in me. The house felt different. Same fridge. Same kids' drawings, same chipped mug in the sink. But now it all looked like evidence in a case file. The empty living room. Her shoes by the door. The mail with both our names on it. A crime scene where the body hadn't fallen yet. I scrolled up through our text history. Late again, honey. Don't wait up. Morrison's on a tight deadline. Kevin and I are slammed. Kevin and I. Kevin and I. Kevin and I. My thumb froze when the notification popped up at the top of the screen. Unknown number. Check your email. You deserve to know the truth. A friend. No number name. Just 10 digits I didn't recognize. I read it twice. Then a third time. The old me, the good guy, would have deleted it. Give her the benefit of the doubt. Told himself it was spam. A wrong number. Some mix-up that would embarrass her at work if he poked the wrong hornet's nest. The man standing in that kitchen at 1:47 a.m. didn't delete it. I set the phone down, walked to the dining room, and flipped open the laptop. The screen glowed in the dark like an interrogation lamp. I typed in my email password with fingers that didn't feel like they belonged to me. New mail. Top of the inbox. For Daniel. No subject line, no sender name, just the address. I clicked. No paragraphs. No explanation. Just attachments. A string of JPEG files and one PDF. I opened the first picture. Rachel and Kevin at Murphy's Bar at different night. Same laugh, same dress. Same way his hand rested too familiar on the small of her back. Date stamp in the corner from 3 weeks ago. Second picture. Them in his BMW in the parking lot. Bodies turned toward each other. Her hand on his chest. His face is close. Too close for coworkers. Third picture. The neon sign of the Sunset Motel on Route 47. The one you don't take your family to. The next photo. Same night, same timestamp. Rachel stepping out of his car, head down, that same black dress hiked just enough to move fast. My jaw hurts. Took me a second to realize I was grinding my teeth. More photos. Different days. Sometimes she wore that blue blazer she called her power jacket. Sometimes it was jeans and a sweater. Always the same pattern though. Office clothes. Murphy's Bar. BMW. Sunset Motel. A neat little timeline of betrayal. The PDF was worse. A grid of dates, times, locations. Sunset Motel room numbers. Copies of receipts. It read like a report prepared for someone who might need it in court. The good guy part of my brain tried to argue. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe it's not what it looks like. Then I pictured Rachel standing in front of our bathroom mirror last month, saying she was bloated and gross, and too tired for anything, while somewhere on this list she was checking into a roadside motel with her coworker. I closed the laptop. For a minute I just sat there. The clock on the oven ticked over to 1:52 a.m. The fridge hummed. The house creaked in that old familiar way. Upstairs, my kids were asleep. They hadn't asked for any of this. I pushed the chair back and went up one slow step at a time. I checked on Emma first. She was sprawled sideways across her twin bed, sunflower print blanket twisted around her legs, hair in her face. She snored a little when I brushed it back. In Jack's room, his night light threw soft blue over his Avengers posters. He slept with his fist closed around that cheap plastic dinosaur he wouldn't let go of, even at bedtime. I stood in the hallway between their doors, barefoot on the same hardwood I'd helped install the summer we moved in. Back then, Rachel and I had argued about stain colors and laughed about how grown-up it felt to argue about stain colors. Now, all I saw was how far the rot had spread while I was busy being understanding. The old Daniel, the nice, forgiving husband, would have waited for her to come home, tears in his eyes, voice shaking, asking, why? He would have accepted half answers. He would have been grateful for scraps, for promises to do better. I looked at my kids' doors, at the glow under Emma's, in the shadow of Jack's night light on the wall. Something clicked into place. Clean, cold, final. I wasn't going to be that man anymore. Right there, in that silent hallway, I made a decision. Not a threat, not a dramatic vow. Just a simple internal line drawn in concrete. I'm done being the good guy. She broke this. Now I decide what happens next. The coffee maker beeped at 7:29 a.m. on the dot. Bacon in the pan, eggs cooling on the kids' plates, lunchboxes lined up like little soldiers. Maple Street morning routine, same as always. Daddy, can you cut the crusts off? Emma asked, swinging her feet from the chair. Already did, kiddo? I said, sliding her plate over. Jack was building a wall of Cheerios around his scrambled eggs, head still half in a dream. The house smelled like bacon and pancakes and, if I let myself, nostalgia. The front door opened at 7:30, right on schedule, like she'd come home from a jog instead of a motel. Hey! Rachel called, voice light. Too bright? Sorry, late night. Big presentation. She stepped into the kitchen and stopped when she saw me at the stove. Same t-shirt, same face, different man. Her makeup was smeared just enough to notice. Hair pulled into a lazy bun that had definitely been down a few hours before. And on the left side of her neck, half hidden by a strand of hair, a dark bloom of a hickey she hadn't bothered to check in real light. Morning, Mommy, Emma chirped. You missed story time again. Rachel flinched at that. I know, baby. Mommy had to work late. Big client meeting with Kevin. The Morrison account, remember? There it was. The script. I turned off the burner, poured coffee into my mug. The movement slow and smooth. Customer service is smooth. The voice I used on angry clients who wanted refunds on things they broke themselves. I didn't look up right away. Made her sit in it. How'd the presentation go? I asked finally, keeping my tone casual. She exhaled like she'd been waiting for that question. Really well, actually. We stayed late to run numbers. Then Kevin insisted we rehearse a few more times. You know him, total perfectionist. He does seem dedicated, I said. Murphy's Bar dedicated, even. Her smile twitched. What? Murphy's Bar, I repeated, sipping my coffee. Interesting place to run numbers. She laughed, but it came out thin. We just stopped in for one drink with the team. Stress relief. You know how it is. I set my mug down. At 1:24 a.m., in your black anniversary dress. Her face drained so fast it was almost impressive. Daniel, what are you talking about? Daddy, can I have more juice? Jack asked, oblivious. Yeah, buddy. I refilled his cup without breaking eye contact with her. Emma, eat your eggs. Okay? Yes, Daddy. I pulled my phone from my pocket, tapped a few times, turned the screen toward Rachel. The Instagram story. Her laugh froze mid-frame. Kevin's eyes on her like he'd already gone home with her in his head. Color crept up her throat, clashing with the mark already there. That's just the team, she stammered. We closed a big milestone. It's normal, Dan. Everyone goes out. Sure, I said. Sometimes you go out. Sometimes you don't go home at all. Her hands started to shake. She grabbed the back of a chair. Kids, I said, still looking at her. Finish up, then go brush your teeth. We're leaving in 10. Okay. They chorused, too used to my tone of voice to argue. When they left the room, I put the phone on the table and walked over to the sideboard. Opened the laptop I'd set there before they woke up. I got an interesting text last night, I said. From a friend. Told me to check my email. Daniel, whoever that is, they're trying to. I clicked open the folder I'd made. Turned the screen toward her. Her face hit the photos like a car hitting black ice. Sunset Motel, Route 47, I said quietly. 3 weeks ago. There you are, getting out of Kevin's BMW at midnight. That blue blazer you said you left at the office. Click. New photo. Different date. Same motel. Same car. This one's from last Tuesday, I continued. You told Emma you were sorry. Baby, Mommy's stuck at work. I kept my voice flat. You were here. She stared, her mouth opening and closing without sound. It's complicated, she finally whispered. You don't understand. I cut her off with a small shake of my head. No, what I don't do anymore is let you confuse the issue. I scrolled. Bar shots, car shots, motel signs, a neat set of receipts in the PDF. You didn't just cheat on me, Rachel. You checked out on your kids, on bedtimes, on school projects, on story time. I leaned in just enough that she had to look at me. Kevin didn't happen to you. You chose him, over and over. Tears started to spill. I was lost, okay? Work has been so much, and Kevin listened. And you, don't, I said, calm as I'd ever been in my life. Don't drag my name into why you booked motel rooms under his rewards card. She covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. I'm so sorry, Daniel. We can fix this. We can figure this out. In a minute, I said. Right now, the only thing that matters is that Emma and Jack get to school on time. The kids padded back in, shoes half on, backpacks crooked. Emma looked between us. Is Mommy mad? She asked. No, I said, forcing a small smile for her. Mommy's just tired. Mommy's going to rest today. Rachel reached out for Emma, but her hand froze halfway. I'll take them, I told her. You take the day. Think. She started to say my name. I ignored it, the tremor in her voice. I wiped the kids' faces, zipped their coats. We stepped out into the chilly morning. Mrs. Nora Donnelly was out front, watering a pot of flowers that had no business still being alive in this weather. She gave me that neighborly nod. Morning, Daniel. Morning, Munchkins. Hi, Mrs. Donnelly. Emma waved. Big day at school? Nora asked. Emma's got spelling, I said steady. Jack's going to explain why dinosaurs should be allowed at recess. Jack nodded hard. They should. Nora smiled. You're a good dad, Daniel. Trying, I said. I buckled the kids into their seats, climbed behind the wheel, and let the silence settle as we pulled away from Maple Street. In the rearview mirror, Emma was humming to herself. Jack was making his dinosaur roar at the window. They were okay. For now. I gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, and made myself a second promise. Right there in that quiet car on the way to school. They come first. And after they're safe, Rachel and Kevin are going to learn what it feels like when the man they thought was harmless stops being polite. Sullivan's boxing gym sat on the south side like it always had. Brick, faded sign, smell of sweat and old canvas. The bell over the door rattled when I pushed it open. Danny boy, Big Mike grunted from behind the counter. Not looking up from the tape he was wrapping around some kid's glove. You look like shit. Feel worse, I said. He tossed me a pair of wraps. Hands first, mouth later. There's a rhythm you fall into after years in a place like that. Wrap, pull, anchor, twist. I stepped up to the heavy bag like it had personally offended me. The first punch felt good. The second felt better. The third turned into a blur. Rachel's face. Kevin's smug grin. That motel sign. My kids in sunflowers and dinosaur pajamas. I buried all of it in the bag. Danny. Mike's voice cut through the thud of leather. That bag didn't screw your wife. I froze mid-swing, chest heaving. He shuffled closer, eyes sharp under those thick gray brows. What's going on? I swallowed once, twice, then said it straight. Rachel's cheating. Coworker. Been going on a while. He didn't flinch. Just nodded like I told him my car needed brakes. You hit anything that isn't made of canvas yet? No. Good. He jerked his chin toward the bag. Real toughness isn't what you do when you're angry, Danny boy. It's what you can still think while you're angry. You start swinging at the wrong people, you lose your kids, your house, your life. Then she gets to call you crazy on top of a cheat. The words landed harder than any punch I'd thrown. After a shower and a half-hearted joke about my jab looking better, I drove downtown to Sophie Chen's office. Glass building, clean lobby, receptionist with perfect eyeliner and dead eyes. Sophie met me at the door to her conference room, small, sharp, dark hair in a no-nonsense knot. We'd gone to high school together. She'd always been the one who finished group projects and didn't let anyone copy. Dan, she said, already in lawyer mode, you look like you need coffee and a controlled explosion. I've got the first one, I said, dropping the manila envelope of printed photos on the table. This is the second. She flipped through everything without reacting. Motel shots, bar pics, the timeline, my notes about missed bedtimes, late nights, the Instagram story, the anonymous email. Okay, she said finally, tapping the stack square. Here's the reality. Illinois is no fault. The court doesn't care why the marriage died, just that it's dead. Adultery doesn't magically hand you everything. So all this is worthless, I said. Not worthless. Her eyes narrowed. Leverage. Shows a pattern. Shows she prioritized her boyfriend over the kids. That matters for custody. Maybe for the house, depending how we play it. She leaned forward. You want to win? You follow my rules. Document everything. Save every text, every email, every missed pickup. Separate finances, quietly. No screaming matches, no threats. No punching this Kevin guy in a parking lot no matter how bad you want to. You lose your temper. She wins the narrative. I thought of Mike's line. Real toughness is thinking while angry. Fit too well. Can you get me custody? I asked. If you do what I say and keep your halo cleaner than hers? Sophie shrugged. We've got a shot. But I'm paperwork, Daniel. What you're talking about, making them regret it, that's extra. Just don't drag it into my courtroom. I hear you, I said, out loud. I agreed to everything. No confrontations, no scenes, no contact with Kevin. Inside, walking out of her office into the cold daylight, I was already planning something else. The long, cold game she'd warned me about. Custody first. House second. Then Rachel and Kevin could learn what it felt like to be slowly, methodically erased from the life they'd taken for granted. Rosie's diner was the same as it had been since high school. Chrome, cracked red booths, smell of burnt coffee and fried everything. Graveyard shift people sat hunched over plates like they were hiding from daylight. I'd paid Mrs. Donnelly $40 cash to watch the kids and told her I had some errands. Her eyes said she knew better, but she didn't push. The unknown number had sent one line. Rosie's diner. Back booth by the jukebox. Noon. A friend. She was already there when I walked in. Mid-30s, polished, navy blazer over a white blouse, hair pinned back. The kind of corporate clean that screams HR. She stood when I approached. Daniel? She asked. Yes. I'm Leah. Leah Patterson. We met. Company Christmas party last year? I work in HR with Rachel. I vaguely remembered a handshake, maybe a glass of wine. Rachel saying, That's Leah. She's great. Before running off to talk to someone else. I nodded and sat. She slid a manila envelope across the table like it was a check. I'm the one who texted you, she said quietly. You deserved to know what was happening. I opened it. More bar photos. More sunset motel angles. Close-ups that made my stomach flip, not because they were explicit, but because there was no way to pretend this was innocent. Receipts. Time-stamped logs. Printed screenshots of text messages. Rachel. Can't wait to be free of all this. Just you and me, baby. Kevin, soon. You deserve to feel alive. I kept my face flat. How did you get these? I asked. She sighed like a disappointed aunt. I work in HR, Daniel. I see things. Rachel has been making reckless choices. Kevin has a reputation. I tried talking to her, but she wouldn't listen. She's throwing her life away. I thought if you saw, you'd fight for your marriage. For your family. She tells you she's missing bedtimes? School plays? That my daughter thinks Kevin from mommy's work is just some nice guy. Leia's jaw clenched. She's in a midlife spiral. He's taking advantage. You can pull her back from this if you want to. Most men would just leave. I looked down at the texts again. Free of all this. That was me. The house. The kids. No, I said. I'm not fighting for this marriage. She blinked. You're just going to let her burn it all down? I'm going to end it, I said. On my terms. And I'm going to make sure she remembers exactly what she set on fire. For a second, something flickered in Leia's eyes. Too much interest, too much satisfaction. But I was swimming in humiliation and raw anger and let it pass. I just didn't want you in the dark, she said, softer now. You're a good man, Daniel. You don't deserve this. Yeah, I said, gathering the envelope. I know. I walked out of Rosie's with more proof, more clarity, and a new kind of resolve. Whoever this over-invested HR savior was, whatever her angle, she'd handed me enough gasoline to burn the last remnants of my marriage to the ground. What I didn't see yet was that she'd also probably brought the match. The cafeteria-turned-auditorium smelled like glue sticks, juice boxes, and too many adults in too small a space. Fold-out chairs scraped linoleum. Proud parents angled phones like they were filming the Olympics. Daddy, can you see me from here? Emma asked, clutching my hand, her cardboard sunflower petals rustling. Front row view, kiddo, I said. You're the star. Jack tugged my sleeve. Do I have to sit the whole time? You get 1 candy if you last till the end, I said. 2 if you don't roar like a dinosaur during the quiet parts. He considered. Okay, no roaring. The lights dimmed halfway. Kids shuffled onto the stage, all construction paper flowers and crooked smiles. I scanned the crowd out of habit more than anything. Then I saw her. Rachel. 3rd row, center aisle. Hair done, makeup fresh, that same black dress under a beige cardigan. Next to her, easy as breathing, sat Kevin Walsh in a button-down and blazer, leaning in to whisper something that made her smile. She had told me that morning she'd probably have to work late and would try really hard to make it, but no promises. She'd made it. She'd just brought her boyfriend. My first instinct was to walk out. The second was to walk down there and break his nose in front of the PDA. Instead, I sat. I watched my daughter scan the crowd. Her eyes passed over me first. Big smile. Then she saw Rachel. Her whole face lit up, brighter than the stage lights. Mommy came, she whispered to the kid next to her. She said maybe, but she came. The teacher gave the signal. Tiny voices started singing something about sunshine and growing. Emma did the hand motions, eyes flicking to us every few seconds. At the end, applause exploded. Kids bowed in chaotic waves. Parents surged forward. I walked with the flow, Jack hanging on my pocket. Rachel saw me about half a second before I reached her row. Color drained from her face. Kevin straightened like a man who just realized the dog he'd been poking through the fence wasn't actually chained. Daniel, she started voice tight. I was going to text you, Emma launched herself off the stage and into her arms. Mommy, you came. This is Mr. Kevin. He came too. Rachel swallowed. He, helped me get off work in time. I looked at Kevin. He stuck a hand out, eyes trying for friendly and landing on guilt. Kevin Walsh, he said. We've met once, I think. I let my eyes drop briefly to his extended hand, then back to his face. Didn't take it. Oh, I know who you are, I said, voice low but clear enough for the people around us to pretend not to listen harder. BMW, Sunset Motel, Murphy's Bar. Big fan of your work ethic. His hand dropped. Daniel, not here, Rachel hissed. Please. The kids. The kids are why I'm saying this here, I said. So maybe the next time you decide to lie about working late, you remember your daughter standing on a stage looking for you. Emma looked between us, confusion starting to creep in. Daddy, this is just Mommy's friend. No, I said gently to her, eyes softening. This is Mommy's boyfriend. The air went out of the little circle around us. A few parents shifted. One dad cleared his throat and turned away like he was giving us privacy and front row seats at the same time. Rachel's eyes filled. Stop, please. We can talk about this at home. You've been talking about it in motels for weeks, I said. Consider this the short version. Kevin's jaw clenched. Look, man, this is complicated. You and Rachel. Complicated is a mortgage and 2 kids and 7 years of history. I cut in. What you two did is simple. And now you get to live with it out in the open like grown-ups. Rachel grabbed Kevin's arm. We're leaving. Of course they were. Emma's face crumpled. Mommy, wait. You didn't see the second song yet. I'll watch it on video, baby. I promise, Rachel said, already moving. Mommy just has to. Go with Kevin, I finished for her. She winced, but she didn't deny it. They walked out together. Not hand in hand, but close enough. The visual burned in so deep I knew I'd still see it years later. That night, after the kids were in bed, Emma extra clingy, Jack extra quiet, I sat at the dining room table with a neat stack of papers Sophie had prepared. Maple Street was quiet. The house felt half empty already. The front door opened around 10. Rachel stepped in, eyes red, shoulders sagging. Daniel, she said, dropping her bag. I know you're furious, but what you did at the school. I slid the divorce papers across the table. She stared at them like they were written in another language. What is this? Your freedom, I said. Exactly what you told Kevin you wanted. Her eyes flicked up, wild. You read? Yes, I said. I read it all. The texts about feeling alive. The part about being free of all this. This is me helping. Tears spilled over. I don't want this. I feel alive with him. I feel seen. And with you it's like I'm invisible and you felt alive enough to skip your daughter's bedtime and then show up to her play with your boyfriend. I said. You're not invisible, Rachel. You're just selfish. She slammed her hand on the table. This is my house too. I helped pay this mortgage. I painted those walls. You can't just kick me out. I nodded at the papers. You'll see a section about that. Sophie made sure the judge will hear all about how you chose Kevin over your kids. I've got evidence stacked a foot high. You want to fight for the house? For custody? We can go that way. But you're not staying here. She sagged back into the chair, sobbing. Please, Daniel, don't do this. I messed up, I know, but we can go to counseling, we can. I already went to counseling, I said. It's called reality. This is me listening. Silence stretched. Just her quiet crying and the hum of the fridge. You have a week, I said finally. We'll work out a schedule for the kids through lawyers. You're their mother. I won't take that from them. But as my wife, we're done. I stood, walked past her without touching her shoulder, and went upstairs. Emma was twisted in her blanket again, sunflower crown on her nightstand. Jack's dinosaur glowed in the nightlight's soft blue. I checked their doors like I had that first night. Same hallway, same worn spots on the floor. But now it was official. The marriage was over. The father stayed. And Rachel and Kevin had no idea yet what real consequences felt like. With temporary custody in motion and Rachel sleeping at her sister's, The house was quieter. Too quiet. I used it. I spread Leia's envelope and my own files across the dining table. Photos, dates, motel receipts, screenshots. Then I looked up Charles Morrison's direct line. Owner of Morrison and Associates. The name that had been shoved into my marriage like a crowbar. He answered on the third ring. Morrison. Mr. Morrison, my name is Daniel Patterson. My wife works for you. Rachel Patterson. This is about the Morrison account and your senior analyst, Kevin Walsh. A pause. Go on. I'm not calling to scream or make threats, I said. I'm a father with 2 kids, and I think you deserve to know that your high performers are using company time and company money to conduct an affair. I have date-stamped photos of them leaving work together, drinking at Murphy's, and checking into the Sunset Motel on Route 47. Multiple times. I can email you the evidence. Silence stretched, colder than anger. Send it, he said finally. Now. I did. 5 minutes later, he replied with 2 words. Thank you. I didn't hear the fallout directly. I didn't have to. The next day, Rachel showed up at the house white-faced and shaking. They fired me, she said. They fired Kevin too. They had photos, emails, everything. HR said someone tipped them off. Maybe they just finally looked up from their spreadsheets, I said. Her phone buzzed later. She ignored it, but I saw the name flash. Leia. Mine rang that night. What did you do? Leia's voice, tight and furious. You destroyed her career. She made mistakes, but you just executed her. No, I said. She executed herself. I just made sure the people paying her salary knew what they were buying. And believe it or not, this is mild compared to what I could have done. You're colder than I thought, she snapped. Warms my heart to hear you say that, I replied and hung up. Weeks passed. I focused on drop-offs, pickups, and keeping the house from feeling like a tomb. Then one Saturday, pushing a cart through the grocery store, I almost ran over a ghost. Kevin. Same face minus the smug. Beard half-grown, eyes ringed, clothes 1 step above pajamas. Daniel, he said, like he'd seen a cop. Look, man, you look unemployed, I said. How's that working out? His mouth twisted. Rachel left. Said she needs to figure herself out. I lost my job, my references, my reputation. Morrison made it clear I'm poisonous in this town. Actions, consequences. I said. It's not complicated. He hesitated, then blurted. Do you even know who pushed all this? Who kept pairing us on projects? Who booked those team-building drinks? I stared at him. Rachel. Wrong, he said. It was Leia. She practically ordered me to look after Rachel. Told me you were some distant, controlling jerk. Kept approving expenses, setting up drinks after hours, booking us on late-night Morrison pushes only. She's the one who drew the map. That landed. I walked away without another word, groceries half forgotten in the cart, and called Sophie from the parking lot. Run everything you can on a Leia Patterson, I said. HR at Morrison. She's too invested. Sophie called back 2 days later. You're going to want to sit down, she said. Your friend Leia Patterson? She's actually Leia Morrison. Yes, that Morrison. Charles's daughter. And she used to work in HR at Henderson and Associates. My old firm. The one I left 6 years ago? I asked. Yep. She was terminated for embezzling 50 grand from employee benefit accounts, Sophie said. They didn't prosecute because Daddy bailed her out. But there's a report. And the person who caught the discrepancies testified in the internal review and got her bounced. She paused. A junior analyst named Daniel Patterson. I sat there in my parked car, engine off, kids' booster seats in the rear view. The affair, the late nights, the motel receipts, the anonymous texts, the helpful friend in HR. This hadn't been random. This had been a long, patient revenge story. And I just found out I wasn't the only one writing it. Sophie spread the printouts across her conference table like evidence in a cop show. Fake email accounts, she said, tapping one page. Booked with the same IP as Leia's work laptop. Motel reservations made on a Morrison and Associates corporate card. Guess whose approval code is on them? Leia's, I said. Bingo. She didn't just watch this happen. She built it. We spent a week turning my rage into a case file, dates, emails, expense reports, screenshots of burner accounts routing back to her devices, internal HR notes Sophie had greased a contact to get. By the end, Leia's helpful friend routine looked like what it was. A 3-year revenge project. Ready? Sophie asked. Yeah, I said. Time to let the spider admire her own web. I called Leia from the driveway, kids inside watching cartoons. Leia, it's Daniel, I said, letting just enough strain into my voice. Listen, I think you were right. Something about this feels bigger. Like someone set Rachel and Kevin up. Can we talk? Hook. Bait the savior. Oh my God, yes, she said, too fast. Rosie's? Same booth? I can pull some records, see what I can find. Exactly what I was hoping for, I said. Rosie looked the same. This time, I walked in already knowing she was the arsonist. She had a folder ready, lips pressed in this faux-concerned line. I did some digging, she said. I think I found who's behind all this. Yeah, I leaned in. Who? She slid a stack of printed emails toward me. Janet Morrison, Charles's other daughter. She's been jealous of Rachel and Kevin's success. Look. She pushed for their joint assignments, signed off on their expenses, suggested those late-night Morrison meetings. I flipped through. The emails were good. Too good. Phrases just a little too on the nose. Dates are a little too convenient. Why would she do that? I asked, playing dumb. Corporate politics, Leia said quickly. You know how it is. Some people just want to watch things burn. I can help you bring this to Charles, but we have to be smart. I let her talk. Let her build the fake scaffolding higher and higher. When she finally wound down, I closed the folder. Thank you, I said. This is a lot. Let me process it. She squeezed my hand. I just want to help you, Daniel. After what you did for Rachel. Fighting for your family. I respect that. I smiled like I believed her, paid my check, and walked out already on to phase 2. 3 days later, I sat in a glass conference room at Morrison and Associates. Sophie on my left, calm and loaded for war. Across from us, Charles Morrison in a dark suit, and his attorney, a stiff guy who looked allergic to surprises. Mr. Patterson, Morrison said, you asked for this meeting. You said it concerns my daughter and my company. It concerns both your daughters, actually, I said. The real one and the one your HR files call Patterson. Sophie opened our folder and went to work. She laid it out clean. Leia's embezzlement at Henderson and Associates. My role in exposing it. Her reappearance years later under her middle name as Patterson. Sliding into HR at Morrison and Associates. The sudden attention on Rachel's career. The hand-picked projects with Kevin. The approved late-night team-building drinks. The motel bookings on corporate cards. The anonymous emails. The PI-style photos emailed to me from burner accounts tied to her IP. We finished with a neat comparison. The emails Leia had tried to pin on a fictional Janet Morrison, next to real emails she'd sent herself years ago. Same patterns, same phrases. Morrison's face went from confused to pale to something close to sick. This is a serious accusation, his attorney said. You're claiming my client's daughter orchestrated an affair to ruin your marriage? I'm claiming she targeted me for years, I said. My marriage, my kids, my house were just collateral. She wanted to wreck me. She used your name and your company resources to do it. Sophie slid one last page across the table. These are our conditions, she said. Immediate termination, full internal and, if appropriate, criminal investigation. A written statement acknowledging that Rachel Patterson and Kevin Walsh were manipulated by a member of management pursuing a personal vendetta. And a commitment to cooperate if my client chooses to press charges for harassment and stalking. Morrison stared at the paper, then at me. Why didn't you go straight to the police? I held his gaze. Because I wanted you to see exactly what your daughter did with the second chance you bought her. And because I believe in going to the source before I burn the whole building down. His attorney cleared his throat. We'll need time to review this. You have until the end of the week, Sophie said. After that, we stopped being polite. When we walked out of that building, the air felt sharper. Leah had spent years laying traps in the dark. Now her own father was staring at the blueprint of the cage she'd built. For me, for Rachel, for Kevin. And for the first time, I wasn't just reacting to her game. I was forcing everyone who'd enabled her to pick a side. Leah's building was all glass and money. Downtown view, concierge desk, the kind of place that never sees its own trash cans. I buzzed, and she let me up without asking who it was. She opened the door in a silk blouse and tight smile, the living room table already covered in papers. Daniel, she said, stepping back. Thanks for coming. I pulled more on Janet. We can. Yeah, I said, walking past her. Let's look at your evidence. On the table, fake email chains, doctored memos, all with Janet Morrison neatly typed at the top. It would have fooled me a month ago. I picked one up, glanced at it, then laid it back down. Neat work, I said. Shame you used the same phrasing you did in your old Henderson emails. Sloppy, Leah. Or should I say Leah Morrison? Silence. Her jaw flexed once. What did you do? I sat with your father and his lawyer, I said. Showed them your embezzlement file from Henderson, the burner accounts, the motel bookings on corporate cards, the PI notes on my schedule. They were very interested. You're lying, she said, but her voice had lost its backbone. I pulled my phone out, set it on the table, screen lit with an email from Charles. We are proceeding with termination and a full investigation. The police have been contacted. You built this for 3 years, I said. All because I flagged 50 grand you stole from people's retirement. You called that destroying your life. She sank into a chair, hands shaking. You have no idea what that did to me. You lost a job, I said. My 8-year-old asked why her mom didn't love her enough to come home. That's what you did to her. Tears started. Real or not, I didn't care. The police are already in it, I said. Your dad too. I'm not here to scream. I'm here to tell you it's over. You don't contact me, my kids, or Rachel again. Next time your name shows up anywhere near us, it's more expensive. She folded in on herself, sobbing about fairness and ruined futures. I left her there in her expensive box, finally trapped in something she couldn't engineer her way out of. Rosie's was half empty when I slid into the booth later. Rachel was already there, hair pulled back, eyes tired in a way makeup couldn't fix. What is this about, Daniel? She asked. The lawyer said you wanted to meet. I dropped a thinner folder on the table, Leah's real file, stripped down to the essentials. Her name isn't Patterson, I said. It's Morrison. She used to work at my old firm. She stole from employees. Caught it. She's been aiming at me ever since. I walked her through it. The second identity, the HR job, the mentoring, the pushed projects with Kevin, the motel bookings, the anonymous tips. By the time I finished, Rachel's hands were clamped around her coffee cup like it was the only solid thing left. So, none of it was real? She whispered. It was real, I said. You really slept with him. You really lied to me. You really missed your daughter's play so you could show up with your boyfriend and pretend it was normal. Leah set the stage. You still walked onto it. She broke then, shoulders shaking, tears splashing onto the formica. I was stupid, she said. Lonely, angry, whatever excuse you want. I grabbed the first fantasy that felt different and I didn't care who it hurt. I am so damn sorry, Daniel. I believe you're sorry, I said. I also believe my kids need a mother who shows up, not a wife who wants to rewind the last year because the fantasy blew up. She looked up. Is there any chance for us? At all? I don't know, I said. Right now, I know this. We are not a couple. We are co-parents. That means the kids come first every time. If you step out of line with them, I'll protect them. Even from you. She nodded slowly, like it hurt. I'll earn it back. With them. With you if I can. Start with them, I said, sliding out of the booth. If there's anything left for us after that, we'll see. But don't confuse forgiveness with forgetting. I walked out of Rosie's into the cold, knowing two things were finally clear. The sociopath who'd lit the match was exposed, and the woman I'd married was going to have to live with the ashes she'd helped spread, whether I ever took her back or not. 6 months is enough time for court cases to crawl forward, for gossip to die down, and for people to pretend they never stared at you in the school parking lot. It was also enough time for Leah Morrison to go from untouchable rich girl to inmate number with a plea deal. Fraud, harassment, stalking, misuse of company funds. The DA couldn't pin everything we suspected, but they nailed enough. She took a deal to avoid trial, got time inside and restitution payments that'll follow her for years. Morrison and Associates released a stiff, layered statement about a rogue employee and unethical conduct. They quietly offered Rachel and Kevin their jobs back. Kevin took a buyout and moved to Seattle. Rachel went back, older in the eyes, slower with the smiles. We didn't get back together. We learned drop-offs and pickups, color-coded calendars, and neutral ground conversations. Emma stopped asking where Mommy slept and started asking when Mommy would come to the next game. Jack just accepted that sometimes Mom's car left after dinner and Dad stayed. My life shrank in some ways and expanded in others. 3 nights a week, I was at Sullivan's. Big Mike watched me move around the ring and grunted, "You hit harder now, but smarter. I'll take it." Evenings on Maple Street were quieter. I grilled cheap burgers, helped with homework, and listened to Mrs. Donnelly say things like, "You're doing good, Daniel." When she thought I wasn't really listening, Sophie kept telling me to write it all down. "People need to know," she said. "Monsters don't just live in alleyways. Sometimes they work in HR and smile at you over coffee." One night, after baths and bedtime chaos, Emma came into the living room holding a fresh drawing. "Daddy?" she asked. "Is Mommy ever coming home to live with us again?" I looked at the picture. 3 stick figures under a lopsided rainbow, me, Emma, and Jack. No fourth figure squeezed in on the edge. "I don't know, kiddo," I said. "Maybe, maybe not. But here's what I do know, we're going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you and your brother. That's my job." She studied my face like she was deciding whether to believe me, then nodded and crawled into my lap, small and warm and real. Later, after I put her to bed, I taped that drawing to the fridge over an old one that still had 4 figures. It wasn't the family I planned. It wasn't the life I thought I was building when we signed the mortgage on Maple Street. But it was mine. Mine to protect. Mine to sharpen myself for. I used to think being the good guy meant swallowing disrespect and forgiving until there was nothing left of me. Now I know better. Sometimes the good guy is the one who refuses to stay soft, who learns to hit back clean, who never abandons his kids, even if everyone else does. And if there's one thing I'm sure of now, standing in that kitchen with my daughter's new drawing and my son's dinosaur on the table, it's this: they tried to burn my life down. They forgot I was the one who knew how to walk out of the fire carrying what mattered.